Happy Sunday. I am here with the Vitamin Joy Tarot reading. I want to thank you for being here. I will say to you that this is going to be a longer reading. I I really have had a hard week this week with some things. I want to share that with you because if I'm having a hard week, it means other people are too. I got into a skirmish on my personal Facebook. I want to tell you what happened. This past week, I shared a post on my personal Facebook about Carole King's Tapestry, and it's an album from I think 1971. I just discovered it. I was listening to it, and I shared it on my Facebook, and it was wonderful because I saw a whole lot of people who have all sorts of different things in common chime in and talk about their memories. There was a woman who named her daycare Tapestry for that album. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful things there. I then made a post about how beautiful that was. And somebody got on there and was like, I appreciate your sentiments, but, and this is where we got into the discussion and a little bit of a skirmish around social media. I am not political on my Facebook page. That's not because I don't have political beliefs. There's actually intention behind me not just sharing all of the outrage that I see. One, I understand these platforms. There is a great documentary, it's currently on Netflix, that you should watch called The Social Dilemma. It is literally about Facebook, how it's designed to incite rage in people and how fear and rage are addictive. The platforms that we're using are designed to be outrageous, to get us addicted to them. Like there's literal design in the scroll, the push. It's like slot machines. They've designed these things to be addictive. All right. I was talking to this person who said, I have to share my beliefs because of many reasons. And this is where one man's trash can become another man's treasure. Okay? I understand marketing. I have a background in marketing, and I understand the difference between passive and active marketing. Passive marketing is, you're in the grocery store, you hear an ad on the radio. Active marketing is you are uh, picking up a magazine and you're actively looking at the things that are being marketed to you. Facebook, social media is the worst of both because you actively go on it and then you're fed passive ads. Okay, they're just passive. Everybody with their shares, with their I'm outraged at this, becomes a passive message to me, meaning that all the tragedies, boom, I know I'm being manipulated by what other people are designed to share. Like this platform wants people to share outrageous stuff. I understand this. So I don't share political things because I don't want to spread outrage. I don't want to become that person who, the expression death by a thousand cuts? That's what our Facebook pages can become. Now, the other side of this is true because other people, are like, well, I have to stand up for myself. I have to speak to my values. And I say there is a fine line between speaking for one's values and screaming into the void and contributing to the negativity. So that's why I use social media with a little bit different of an intention. I try to share humor, I try to share art, I try to share music, I try to share those types of things because we have all been intentionally divided through virtue signaling, through soapboxes, through echo chambers, and nobody likes to hear this. Or very few people like to hear this because very few people will see something outrageous that offends them and they just hit the share and they scream and they boast and they clutch their pearls. Meanwhile, they don't understand what they're sharing is something that's impacting other people's mental health, for good or for worse. I don't share stuff about the Epstein files because I don't want to share sexual abuse. I don't want to share human trafficking. The people in this world, trust me, that want to be aware of that are outraged by it, are outraged by it. But this is where the skirmish came in. Because this person was on my post and said, I refuse to be silent about the Epstein files, or I believe Being silent about the Epstein files makes a person complicit. And that sent me off the deep end because I'm intentionally silent about these things. I'm not posting about Charlie Kirk. I'm not posting about Renee Good. I'm not posting about Minneapolis. I'm aware of these things. I'm horrified and outraged at the state of America, but I'm not posting about them. That doesn't mean just because I'm not signaling my virtue, it doesn't mean I don't have any virtue. My point is that I've seen this a lot. Like, people aren't angry enough. In fact, I'm an abuse survivor. I am horrified. I am angry. I am all of those things. But nobody has the right to judge me based on what I do or don't share. Now, this person said that they weren't judging me. They said, do whatever you want, process this however you want. And I'm like, it was really hard because if you're silent about the Epstein files, you're complicit in them. If you're silent, like, by that logic, you're complicit in every tragedy that you know about that you don't publicly denounce. It was very hard for me to hear that. And I did take it personally because there is a part of me that worries that just because, and I know it's not true, but there's a little bit of part of me that's been trained by social media that if I don't share these political things, if I don't hit the share button and I don't speak up for myself, well, I'm participating in it. I'm making the world a worse place. The idea that being silent about the Epstein files when I don't want to talk about sexual abuse and I don't want to talk about human trafficking, cannibalizing babies, I don't want to share that. I don't want to put that out to the world. I'm not sticking my head in the sand. I understand that I can add beauty and art and music. I don't have to be consumed by all of this. And this is where it gets really frustrating because I'm recording this right now on a device that is the product of slave labor. Like, do you know, like, the minerals that go into these phones, into these devices, and the people in Africa and other countries that are mining these things, like cobalt, lithium, all of these things that our devices take. I buy a phone and I'm complicit in the horror of the cobalt mining in Africa. I don't like that. I mean, I understand this. I get into my car. I drive a car that processes gasoline. I am now part of global warming and climate change. I can't go a day without using single-use plastics. The reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I call this vitamin joy, is because we need to get joy in like a vitamin. And if you're on these devices and you're on these platforms and the only thing you're seeing is the negativity and the horror, that is going to change you. That is going to cause you to be bitter and judgy and like all of these things. I look at so many well-intentioned people just share. And what they do is they further isolate themselves into their echo chamber. The people that think differently than them, that while there might be a small chance of reaching them, there's just unfriend, unfollow, block. This is like all of these well-intentioned people that are being manipulated by social media are constantly finding themselves in these echo chambers. It's not useful. And here I am. I'm solution-based, or I try to be solution-based. I want you to think for a moment, and I'm sorry if this applies to you, but I want you to think for a moment about the people who are outraged about our president, but they can't name their state rep. I want you to think about the people who are outraged about the state of America, but they don't know who their select board members are. They don't know who's in their town government. They don't know who's working for their county. They don't know their state rep. They can't name their senators. They can't name their governors. Where somebody who's outraged by the world, they're taking their limited amount of energy, wasting it in social media, and it's almost as if they're being intentionally distracted. This is an awful catch-22 because we should be aware of these things, right? We should speak up against these things. But where does the well-meaning solution of the share become the negative screaming into the void that impacts somebody's mental health? That is such a fine line to balance. And I have, I think, one person on my Facebook who is so skillful in her political and social posts. And she's solution based, meaning that, when she's sharing these things, she's talking about how people can take care of themselves and how they can participate in local government. That is an inspiration to me. So I try to be solution based with this. And I guess I'm speaking to the people who choose not to yell into the void about horrendous political things. That doesn't make you a bad person. This person on my Facebook page who said, I strongly believe that silence in regards to the Epstein files is making a person complicit. Like, they feel that they're part of the problem because they're not voicing their opposition. Well, voice your opposition. Volunteer for a victims advocacy group. Participate. And maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe they bring solutions to the world. But I'm kind of like watching everybody around me being manipulated by these devices and these platforms and these programs. And I'm watching family members hate family members. And it's a goddamn shame. So I bring this up because it's hard. And here's what I want to talk about. Like, for people who are abuse survivors, the Epstein thing is very hard to see, because when you see convicted rapists not go to jail, when you see sex traffickers not be arrested, and truly in the United States, we are seeing some shit. The names of the victims being unredacted and the names of the victimizers being redacted. How could anybody be okay with that? But every time I see it, I'm reminded of all of the abusers in my life that never saw justice. It's a damn shame. So, Vitamin Joy. I have my Vitamin Joy tarot deck. I am going to shuffle this 5 times, and I'm going to talk about some joy. So please, whenever I go to a live event or do a group reading, I always wear Golden Girls socks, because it's my little good luck charm and a reminder that I should be doing my damnedest to try to bring into the world a little bit of joy. I have to seek joy. I have to get the joy in like a vitamin. I hope that any of the things that I provide can be joyful for folks, but I don't want to stick my head in the sand. I can't not talk about the awful things in this world that are happening, but I can understand the way I talk about them can also increase them. It's like everybody yelling fire in a theater, but nobody's like getting the buckets of water. Nobody's looking to put the fire out. They're just looking to scream about it. And you get a whole bunch of screaming in a theater about, fire. It doesn't help anybody. And that's where I'm really struggling with all of this. It's that catch-22. So I see a lot of beautiful, wonderful, heartfelt people not speaking politically for a lot of different reasons. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they don't want to add to the clamor of all this negativity. That's why I don't. And I don't judge them. I don't think that just because they're not posting about the Epstein files doesn't make them complicit. And that's very difficult, because I see a lot of people going in that direction. Oh, because you're not talking about it, because, you're not mad enough. I'm horrified. I'm disgusted. I don't know what yelling into the void is going to do for anybody. So let's just get to the tarot cards and have a little fun, shall we? The card that represents us this week. The Three of Swords. Here's the Three of Swords, and I designed this card with razor blades because this is the card of heartbreak. I think we are all heartbroken over abuse, the Epstein files. Like, it is incredibly impactful to go into those files, look at them on our mental health. And I think we're all heartbroken. Okay, that is what we are. That is who we are. We are hurting. Okay. I will talk about the swords, though, because in tarot, I love the analogy of the swords representing the mind. And that's what they do. They represent air, the mind, breath. And I love the analogy of the swords representing the mind, because if we don't use our mind with skill and grace, we're going to hurt ourselves and others. So in this instance, right, where like I called this person out, I was like, oh, because I'm not publicly denouncing the Epstein files, I am complicit. And then, of course, you know, then I was attacking the person. You know, I felt attacked. They weren't trying to attack me. I wasn't trying to attack them, but they felt attacked. And, like, we're on the same side. You know, like, there shouldn't fucking be sides, but I was on that side. Like, we are horrified. We are outraged. We're processing it differently, but now we're at each other's throats because of goddamn social media. Okay. The Three of Swords. If you don't use your mind with skill and grace, you will hurt yourself. You will break your heart. So, in that way, where I read that woman's words, silence around the Epstein files is complicity. Was I using my mind with skill and grace? Probably not. Did I hurt myself? Yeah. Did I hurt her? Yeah. I apologized. So, I can definitely see where this is at. The issue is that when you're dealing with something as traumatic, dramatic, horrendous as the Epstein files, it can be very easy to lose the skill of using our mind. Okay. Here's what vexes and perplexes us. The Two of Cups, which is the card of love. Now, when I went after, that woman was like, I'm complicit in the Epstein files because I'm not publicly denouncing. Did I love that woman? No. And here is where we have a big challenge. I really do feel like humans can only react from a place of love or fear. Ultimately, when you get down to it, I'm pretty sure it's love or fear. Even anger, I think the root of it is going to be either love or fear. And here's love. In the way that our interactions with each other should be medicine, should be healing. That's the Two of Cups. So you can see my version of it. Two coffee cups coming together, a little heart over it. Here's this. I can safely say that in that instance, when I kind of twerked back at her, I was like, I did not react from a place of love. Why? Because I took what she said personally. Why? Because there's a part of me that's afraid she's right. You know, I know that I'm not complicit in the Epstein files, but social media has caused me to fear that if I don't speak up, if I don't do the great, political posts, if I don't get up on a soapbox and signal my virtue, that people will think I have no virtue. And I would not want people to ever think that I'm complicit or I'm okay with the Epstein files. Like, it's so hard. But I certainly didn't react in love, and I certainly didn't come like, she's suffering, she's hurting, I'm suffering, I'm hurting, and somehow this situation caused us pain. But the next card is the card that heals and reveals. The Nine of Cups. Okay. The Nine of Cups is a card of emotional fulfillment, and I see it as emotional intelligence. All right. So I've talked about how the swords represent the mind, and if we're not using our mind with skill and grace, we're going to hurt ourselves or other people. All right. So I want to show you the Nine of Cups in the other card. So cups are water and emotions, and what water has taught me is that water is neither good nor bad. Water is water. Water can hydrate us, but water can drown us. Water can flood away our home. The Nine of Cups is a person, in my opinion, who has sort of collected the trophies of emotions. We're not, like, none of the emotions that we have are bad. It's how we use them. So anger, I'm a big fan of anger when processed appropriately. Anger, when processed appropriately, can become such a source of strength and motivation. Neither of us processed our anger appropriately. We got heated. We came at one another. And that's it. right there, emotional intelligence. My emotional reaction, her emotional reaction flooded our houses, washed us away, didn't nourish us, didn't nourish one another. So this is where, we're still all actively trying to manage our emotions, because when we are exposed to something as horrendous as this, not only is this horrendous, but watching people not be held accountable makes it all the worse, because how many of us in this world have suffered from abusers and not seen them come to justice? None of this is easy. And I guess if there was a piece of guidance or advice that I could tell anybody, it's not to ignore your feelings, but it's to feel them, process them, let them flow, breathe through them, and ultimately not let them get the best of us, and understanding that we're going to fail when that happens. I understand I'm not complicit in the Epstein files. I'm not complicit in slave labor, and I hate the fact that these devices mean that we are participating in slave labor. My husband and I have had sort of a new agey shop for a long time, and one of the reasons that we don't sell crystals is because of all of the awful labor conditions of people in the world who are harvesting crystals. Ethically sourced crystals are a rarity, and when we stopped selling them, we didn't get up on a soapbox about it. We just stopped selling them. So what that is that's an example of how the world has changed by our actions, not by our opinion. I can do things like this and hopefully give people a different way of looking at things. But we have to remind ourselves and remember our actions are what changes the world, not our opinions. Our opinions can change the world if it's followed by actions. But not just opinion alone, not just a social media post, not just a social media share, because yes, you can feel better when you hit share and a little dopamine rush and it makes you feel like a good person, or you tell the world this is how you're feeling. But email your state rep, work with your local select board, volunteer at your food shelf, do something, put your hands on something, take that anger, take that energy and put it to good use and work in the world. That's how we create a different world. So I hate this idea. Like, I keep seeing this stuff of like, who made the best Nazis? The people who are nice and got along. Okay, well, like, if they start pulling people out of the house next door to me, I'm going to act up. But my actions on social media really aren't swaying anybody or contributing to anything. The other part of this is that, and I've talked to other business owners who are trying to do good things, offer good things, and these things are very, like, we're oversaturated with fear and political outrage, and the people who are actually trying to do good things and talk about blood drives and food drives and volunteering and organizations and good things, well, they're getting drowned out by everybody who's outrageously posting about the political stuff. So let's post about the political stuff. Let's try to make it solution based, and let's talk about and participate the good things in our local community and the bringing of art and celebrating music. And if you haven't, try to give Carole King's Tapestry a listen to. And it's so funny that all of this happened around a post talking about that and how we are all in a tapestry together. And when we pull on one thread, another thread suffers. When we post something, perhaps another person suffers. When we post something, perhaps another person is helped. Make your efforts solution-based as much as possible. All my love to you. Keep your chin up and make sure you get your joy in. Get your vitamin joy in. Have a great week.